You've heard the advice, eat less, move more, so many times it seems like a universal truth. Almost like drink water or get enough sleep. For decades, this has been the golden formula for weight control, repeated by doctors, nutritionists, and wellness gurus. And, for many people, at certain stages of life, it might even yield some results. But what if I told you that, after age 60, this advice is not only ineffective but can be terribly detrimental? If you've tried to follow this formula to the letter, cutting calories and increasing walks, only to feel weaker, more tired, and without seeing the results you hoped for on the scale or in the mirror, you're not alone. And it's not your fault. The truth is, our body's biology changes profoundly with the decades, and strategies that worked in your 30s or 40s need to be completely reevaluated. Understanding why eating less and moving more is terrible advice after 60 is the first step to finally adopting an approach that respects your body, protects your health, and truly improves your quality of life. If you're looking for science-based information that actually applies to your stage of life, subscribe to the channel, because that's exactly what we bring you here every week. The issue isn't that your body has stopped responding. It's that it has started speaking a new language, and we need to learn to listen. The key lies in a silent, but universal, condition that begins to accelerate precisely at this stage of life. This condition has a scientific name, sarcopenia. The term might sound complicated, but the concept is simple and straightforward. It says the progressive and generalized loss of muscle mass and strength that occurs with aging. Think of your muscles as your reserve of strength, your body's engine. They're not just for lifting objects or walking. They are also a crucial metabolic organ. Healthy muscles help regulate blood sugar, keep your metabolism active, and protect your bones. Starting around age 30, we begin to lose, on average, 3 to 8% of our muscle mass per decade, and this rate accelerates significantly after 60. Now, let's connect this to the eat less advice. When you enter an aggressive calorie deficit, your body needs energy, and where will it get that energy from? Unfortunately, it's not selective and doesn't just burn fat. In the absence of the correct stimulus, the body starts to break down the most expensive tissue it has, in terms of energy, the protein in your muscles. In other words, by indiscriminately eating less, you accelerate you lose weight, yes, but a dangerous portion of that weight is muscle, not fat. This leaves you weaker, with a slower metabolism, and more prone to falls and fractures. The vicious cycle is created. A slower metabolism leads to easier weight regain, which is now predominantly fat, further worsening your body composition. This change in body composition is the real danger, something a regular scale can't show you. And this muscle degradation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's intensified by profound changes occurring in your hormonal architecture. Our body's hormonal architecture is like a symphony orchestra, where each hormone is an instrument that needs to play in harmony. During youth, this symphony is vigorous, promoting growth, repair, and vitality. However, with aging, some instruments begin to play softer. Anabolic hormones, which are responsible for building tissues, like growth hormone, GH, and testosterone, important for men and women, enter a natural decline. These hormones are the maestros of muscle protein synthesis. They signal the proteins you eat to be transformed into new muscle tissue, especially after a stimulus like exercise. Now, imagine what happens when you combine this natural hormonal decline with severe calorie restriction. To eat less, your body, already with a weaker anabolic signal, enters survival mode. The priority is no longer to build or maintain muscle, but to conserve energy at all costs. Drastic calorie restriction can further decrease the production of these precious anabolic hormones, and at the same time, increased levels of catabolic hormones, like cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol, when chronically elevated, does the exact opposite of anabolic hormones. It promotes the breakdown of muscle tissue to provide quick energy. So, by following the eat less advice, someone over 60 is unknowingly creating a perfect hormonal storm for muscle destruction, fighting against their own physiology. It's like trying to row against a strong current. This brings us to another crucial point, the idea that our metabolism simply shuts down with age, which is a great simplification of a much more interesting process. For a long time, the blame for everything fell on the slow metabolism of aging. It was believed that as the years went by, our internal engine simply slowed down, making weight gain inevitable. However, more recent research paints a different and much more empowering picture. A landmark study, published in the renowned journal, *Science*, in 2021, analyzed data from over 6,600 people, from infants to individuals aged 95, and discovered something surprising. Our total energy expenditure, adjusted for body mass, remains remarkably stable from age 20 to 60. It only begins to decline more significantly after 60. And even then, at a much slower rate than imagined, about 0.7% per year. So, if the engine itself isn't that much slower, what's really happening? The answer lies in the composition of the engine. Our basal metabolism, the energy we burn at rest, is largely determined by the amount of lean mass we possess. And muscle tissue is metabolically much more active than fat tissue. A pound of muscle burns significantly more calories at rest than a pound of fat. Therefore, the real reason metabolism seems to slow down is not a mysterious change in its fundamental metabolic rate, but rather the direct consequence of muscle mass loss, the sarcopenia we've already discussed. When you lose muscle, you are literally losing the tissue that burns the most calories in your body. The eat less advice terribly exacerbates this, as, we've seen, it further cannibalizes this precious tissue. It becomes clear, then, that the strategy needs to be inverted. Instead of focusing on eating less, we need to focus on nourishing and preserving this metabolic engine. The solution, therefore, is not deprivation, but prioritization. After 60, the quality and composition of your food become infinitely more important than calorie count alone. And the nutrient that takes center stage is, without a doubt, protein. As we age, we develop a phenomenon called anabolic resistance. This means the body becomes less efficient at using the protein we consume to build new muscle. An amount of protein that would be sufficient to stimulate muscle synthesis in a 25-year-old may not have the same effect in someone who is 65. To overcome this resistance, the recommendation for older adults is significantly higher than for younger individuals. Most current scientific guidelines, based on solid studies, suggest a protein intake of 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day for healthy older adults. For a 155-pound person, this means consuming between 84 and 112 grams of protein daily, a figure that often surprises because it's much higher than average consumption. Distributing this intake throughout the day, with about 25 to 30 grams per meal, appears to be the most effective strategy for maximizing muscle response. This replaces eat less, with a much smarter guideline: prioritize protein. If this information is already clearing your vision on the topic, give the video a like, so our content can help more people. Focusing on eggs for breakfast, a generous portion of chicken or fish for lunch, and Greek yogurt or legumes for dinner becomes the foundation of an anti-aging nutritional strategy. But nutrition is only half the equation. We need to give those muscles a reason to exist and grow. Here we enter the second part of the flawed advice: move more. The guidance is so vague it becomes almost useless. For someone over 60, moving more might be interpreted as walking more, doing more gardening, or spending more time on their feet. And while any movement is better than none, these activities, on their own, don't provide the specific and necessary stimulus to combat sarcopenia effectively. The type of movement that makes a fundamental difference is resistance training, also known as weightlifting or strength training. Don't be scared by the term weightlifting. We're not talking about lifting massive weights like a bodybuilder. We're talking about applying progressive resistance to your muscles, whether with your own body weight, resistance bands, light dumbbells, or machines. The mechanism is clear. When you force a muscle to work against a resistance that challenges it, you create micro tears in the muscle fibers. The body, in its infinite wisdom, not only repairs these fibers, but rebuilds them slightly stronger and larger to be prepared for the next challenge. This is the only unequivocal signal that tells your body, hey, these muscles are essential. We need to keep and strengthen them. Resistance training is the most powerful antidote science knows against sarcopenia. Study after study shows that older adults who engage in strength training programs not only stop muscle loss, but can reverse the process, gaining muscle mass and strength, improving balance, bone density, and functional independence. Replacing move more with challenge your muscles is the necessary paradigm shift. It's fundamental, however, to keep our feet on the ground and be transparent about what science truly shows us. While the evidence supporting the combination of higher protein intake and resistance training to combat sarcopenia is extremely robust, this is not a magic bullet. Scientific honesty requires us to acknowledge individual limitations and uniqueness. Results can vary significantly from person to person. Factors like genetics, health history, the presence of chronic conditions such as arthritis, osteoporosis, or diabetes, and the use of certain medications all play a role in how your body will respond to this new strategy. For example, someone with chronic knee pain will need an exercise program carefully tailored by a physical therapist. Someone with kidney disease will need to discuss increased protein intake with their doctor and nutritionist. As there may be contraindications, the strength of the evidence is in the population average. It shows a clear and strong trend. But you are not an average. You are an individual. Therefore, the goal is not to promise a complete reversal of aging or the elimination of all pain. The goal is to provide a strategy proven to be superior to eat less, move more, which offers the best chance of optimizing your health, strength, and vitality at this stage of life. Implementation should always be careful, gradual, and ideally supervised. This brings us to the most important part: how to start applying this safely and practically in your daily life. Transforming theory into practice is the step that truly matters. Let's detail what a safe and effective action plan would look like. On the nutrition side, the focus on protein needs to be tangible. For breakfast, instead of toast with butter, consider 2 or 3 scrambled eggs, or a generous serving of Greek yogurt with some nuts. For lunch, ensure at least 1/3 of your plate is a quality protein source, such as a grilled chicken breast, the size of your palm, a salmon fillet, or a hearty portion of lentils and chickpeas. For dinner, something similar, perhaps baked fish or lean ground meat. Smart snacks like a handful of almonds or a glass of milk can help meet the daily goal. The secret is planning and always having these protein sources on hand. As for exercise, the key word is progression. If you are sedentary, don't go straight to a gym trying to lift weights. Start at home. A fundamental exercise is sit to stand from a sturdy chair without using your hands. Start with 5 repetitions and try to gradually increase. Another great exercise is wall push-ups. Stand facing a wall, place your hands on it, and bend your elbows, bringing your chest towards the wall. For your arms, water bottles or 1 kilogram bags of rice can serve as initial dumbbells. The most important thing is to focus on correct form and consistency. Doing 10 to 15 minutes every day is much better than doing an hour once a week. And the golden rule, always, is to listen to your body. Sharp pain is a signal to stop. Muscle fatigue is a signal that the stimulus is working. By the end of our conversation, I hope the main message has become clear. The health journey after 60 requires a mindset shift, from a mindset of restriction and weight loss at all costs, to one of nutrition, strength, and function preservation. The goal is no longer just to fit into old pants, but to have the strength to play with grandchildren on the floor, carry groceries from the market without help, get up from a chair easily, and above all, maintain your independence and quality of life for as long as possible. The true metric of success is not the number on the scale, but your ability to live life to the fullest. Rejecting the outdated dogma of eat less, move more, and embracing a smart strategy focused on nourishing your muscles with adequate protein and challenging them with resistance. Training is the approach most aligned with current science and the physiology of an aging body. And with that, we arrive at the most crucial point of all. Everything discussed today and presented is with the aim of informing and educating, based on the best available scientific evidence. However, this information does not, in any way, substitute the advice of your doctor, physical therapist, or nutritionist. Before starting any significant changes to your diet or exercise routine, it is absolutely essential that you consult a qualified healthcare professional who knows your history and individual conditions. They will be able to help you create a safe and personalized plan. If you found this video useful, please share it with a friend or family member who could also benefit from this information. Taking care of our health is an act of love, and sharing knowledge is part of that.